discovering that every single person on your planet has vanished. No bodies, no destruction, no warning. Just empty homes, untouched meals, and silent cities frozen in perfect stillness. Now imagine this happening not on one world, but on 10. Today we are diving into one of the most disturbing enigmas in the Warhammer 40K universe, a mystery that even the Inquisition refuses to fully explain. A mystery so chilling that entire star maps have been erased to hide it. This is the terrifying tale of the vanished human civilizations of the Lapis Expanse, a remote cluster of stars where people didn't just disappear. They were taken, converted, or perhaps transformed into something no longer human. Before we begin, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Let me know in the comments, because what you are about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends. And now let us descend into the silence. The first record of the Lapis Expanse came from explorator fleet Vescent, a mechanicus-led expedition searching for scraps of forgotten technology in the edge of the Segmentum Obscurus. They expected ruins, cracked domes, melted steel, and half-buried relics from the lost dark age of technology. Instead, they found cities that looked as if their people had stepped out for a moment and simply never returned. Streets were free of debris, vehicles were parked neatly, power grids still flickered with low reserves, and buildings showed no signs of decay. It was as if time itself had paused. But the deeper the explorators looked, the more unsettling everything became. There were no signs of evacuation, no messages, no emergency broadcasts, no battle scars. Even microbial traces of human biological activity were missing, as though the populations had been surgically edited out of their own worlds. The tech priests felt something wrong immediately. The air tasted different. The silence pressed hard against their minds, a kind of invisible weight that made their footsteps sound too loud, too lonely, too out of place. Across 9 planets, this eerie perfection repeated itself. It was the same story every time. Cities frozen mid-breath, with no human beings anywhere. But there was one anomaly, shared by these 9 flawless ghost worlds. At the center of each city stood a towering structure unlike anything the Imperium had catalogued. Smooth, metallic, and cold, it resembled a spire fused to a massive resonant core. These monolithic constructs gave off faint vibrations and emitted frequencies beyond normal human perception, waves that scrambled, chronometers, distorted Vox recordings, and made tech priests claim they were hearing whispers. At first, these claims were dismissed as stress-induced hallucinations. After all, mechanicus personnel were known for their rigid logic and disdain for superstition. Yet even they couldn't ignore the strange effects. Servo skulls drifted unpredictably, Auspex scanners failed to stay calibrated, and cogitators repeatedly flagged temporal inconsistencies. Some tech priests described feeling as though something was brushing against their minds, like fingers testing, probing, or learning their thoughts. The deeper they studied the cores, the more their unease grew. Something about these structures felt deliberately made, not by nature, not by accident, but by a power that understood humanity intimately, and perhaps desired more than understanding. Everything changed when the fleet reached the 10th world, Rune's Lantern. Unlike the previous 9 planets, this one had no pristine cities, no empty homes, no frozen meals. Instead, its surface was barren, scarred by ancient tectonic fractures, with vast networks of caverns spreading beneath the planet like veins of obsidian. Inside these caverns lay crystalline carvings, thousands upon thousands of symbols, etched into the rock. These inscriptions did not match any human language, but some shapes echoed patterns seen in old warp glyphs, while others resembled diagrams of human nervous systems. It was as if someone or something had been studying humanity from the inside out. And at the deepest point of the cavern system stood another monolithic resonant core. But unlike the others, this one was awake. It pulsed with a rhythmic vibration that felt disturbingly like breathing. Vox units crackled spontaneously, flaring with static even when switched off. Lights flickered as though reacting to something unseen moving through the cavern. The explorators felt it instantly. This place was different. This one was waiting. The moment the core activated, all Vox channels across the fleet erupted at once. Voices, thousands of them, screamed, whispered, begged, and repeated fragments of speech from dozens of dialects. Some were old tyrannic tongues spoken long before the Imperium was founded. Others were recorded dialects from the vanished cities. A few were so ancient that even the mechanicus archives could not identify them. But among all the chaotic noise, one message kept returning, clear enough to freeze blood. We stepped outside the veil. These words repeated in unison, overlapping, as if spoken by a single collective consciousness using countless human voices. Explorators reported, feeling their emotions shift. Unpredictably, fear turning into calm, confusion turning into curiosity, then back into panic. It was as though the core wasn't just broadcasting. It was reaching into their minds and adjusting them like instruments. When the vibrations intensified, shadows peeled away from cavern walls and stretched unnaturally toward the core, moving like liquid darkness folding into impossible shapes. That was when the Magos commanding the mission ordered an immediate withdrawal. But leaving did not end the nightmare. Only a fragment of the recorded data survived the event on Rion's lantern. Most of the files became corrupted, overwritten, or rendered unreadable by unknown interference. But the single surviving image was enough to terrify even the Inquisition. It showed thousands of blurred humanoid silhouettes standing behind the resonant core, not around it, not on the planet, but behind something like a translucent barrier. Their forms were tall and thin, their limbs unnaturally long. They looked nothing like humans, yet each silhouette appeared to be wearing a faint outline shaped like a human body, stretched and bent as if they were trying to fit into a form that was never theirs to begin with. Their faces were smooth voids, like masks without features. And yet behind these masks, something shifted, curious, observing, almost eager. Many inquisitors debated whether these beings were the ancestors of the vanished settlers, transformed into extra-dimensional entities, or if they were invaders trying to mimic humanity. No consensus has ever been made public. The Ordo Xenos issued an immediate interdiction order on the entire Lapis expanse. All star maps referencing the region were redacted. All logs from Explorator Fleet Vassant were sealed under the highest possible classification. According to some whispered accounts, several tech priests involved in the expedition were quietly reassigned to secure facilities and never heard from again. What terrified the Inquisition most was not the vanished civilizations themselves, but the nature of the resonant cores. These structures were incredibly old, far older than human settlement in the expanse. Some studies suggested they were built before humanity even discovered the warp. Others hinted that the cores existed simultaneously across multiple timelines or dimensional layers. Whatever their origin, one fact was undeniable. The cores had been waiting, watching, and possibly calling to humanity across voids far beyond normal comprehension. The Imperium officially maintains that the Lapis expanse is an uninhabitable anomaly zone, plagued by gravitational hazards and warp storms. But among rogue traders, navigators, and the occasional radical inquisitor, rumors spread like wildfire. Some say the vanished humans willingly stepped into another dimension, seeking enlightenment. Others believe they were harvested by beings who saw humanity as raw material for something greater or something darker. A handful of insane survivors, allegedly rescued near the border of the expanse centuries after the event, described seeing their loved ones standing in reflections, watching them from mirrors or polished metal surfaces. One survivor claimed the reflection of his dead sister smiled at him, but her face stretched too wide, as if struggling to remember how a smile worked. These accounts were dismissed as madness, though the Inquisition confiscated every reflective surface the survivors owned before taking them away. To this day, no Imperial vessel has returned from a forbidden journey into the Lapis expanse. Navy patrols report hearing faint signals on secure frequencies, soft whispers that sound eerily human, repeating that same haunting message. We stepped outside the veil. Astropaths refused to listen, describing the signals as voices pressed against the skin of reality. One particularly gifted astropath reportedly collapsed after hearing a new message hidden beneath the old one. We are learning to wear you. This phrase sent a wave of panic through the Ordo Xenos, prompting renewed lockdowns and purges of unapproved research. Some believe the beings beyond the veil are still studying humanity. Others believe they are preparing to return. But the most terrifying theory suggests they never left at all, and that every mirror, every shadow, every ripple of distortion is a doorway through which they observe us, waiting for the moment to slip back into our world. And now, after hearing this story, after walking through silent cities and staring into the darkness behind reality, I want to ask you something simple but important. If an entire civilization vanished without a trace, leaving only perfect cities and resonant machines behind, what do you think happened to them? Do you believe they ascended? Were they taken? Or did something far worse occur? Something still waiting? Still watching, still learning how to wear us? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more terrifying Warhammer 40K mysteries, deep dive lore, and cinematic storytelling, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a journey into the darker corners of the galaxy.